Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to the face, the card making space, and bookmarks. Waffle Flower's August 2024 release went live a few days ago. I didn't have a video when it went live. The package took a little longer to get to me. So also, slight disclaimer for now, as of filming this intro, a lot of these items are out of stock. They will be restocked as quickly as possible. But I wanted to get this video out because I had so much fun. I made bookmarks. And I have a feeling, because that's typically what Waffle Flower generally does, is that this is just the beginning and that down the road there'll be more little add-ons and stuff, which I think is always so fun because then it just gets more use out of your supplies and like the base, die set or stamp set or whatever. And yeah, I made some bookmarks. I did some hot foiling, did some simple stenciling. I made tassels. I've never made tassels before, but I made tassels. So these will be super fun as always. And again, there's more to this release. There's so many fun products. There's stitchable ones as well. Like there's a stitchable bookmark, which I haven't got to. There's a stitchable bookmark. You can get pre-stitched or like not stitched, but pre-made templates and patterns and all the things, which again, I haven't had the time to dive into, but those will be like one of those sorts of projects that I keep beside the bed. So it's like when I'm watching a show, I can do a little bit of cross stitching because I don't do it very often, but I do also, that is something I actually love to do is cross stitch. I just haven't dived into that in a long time, but little projects like that, like a bookmark, that feels very less overwhelming, because it's a smaller area and then there's little patterns and things. Love it. Love it. So I will link to the whole release for you guys to check out because it's, again, just so good. So I'll have a link to that below. And then like always, I'll link to all the supplies I used. That will also be in the description box below. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That's what helps pay the bills, keeps the channel going. And yeah, let's dive in and I'll show you guys how I made all these bookmarks. So like I said, this release it's just so good. I see this every month with Waffle Flower and no shame, man. Every single time it's just like, this is the best release ever. And this is definitely another one. So I'm doing a mini little overview. This isn't like absolutely everything, but there are the main bookmark wafer die. And then there's this little set. You have an option. This is the round floral bookmark duo. And there's the hot foil plates, or you can just get the stamp set if you're not into hot foiling. There's coordinating stencil set. And then there's the critter, round critter bookmark stamp set, coordinating stencil set. There's a couple different sentiment sets that go with either like the bookmarks. There's also a stack of books wafer die and then all the stitchable items. Like I said, I'll have a link to the release and you guys can check it out because I didn't even get to that stuff. I got caught up making bookmarks. So I use the hot foil plates because my inner magpie absolutely loves shiny. So hot foiling, love it. But if you are not into hot foiling, like do not want to get into it at all, stamp set, totally. You can stamp it, you could heat emboss, do whatever works for you. I love that with the stamps, it's one stamp. Yeah, it's just one big stamp with both bookmarks on it. So you just stick it on there. They're spaced, nicely, everything. But I'm using the hot foil plates. So I've got my hot foil plates. I have my Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil machine. I had it turned on. These plates, it works better to put them on a slight angle. Anything like this that's like kind of long for a hot foil plate, I highly recommend always putting them on an angle. They run through the machine better and you get less chance of overfoiling. So I had my machine heating up. I put my plates on there face up. I'm using Aura Glimmer hot foil. And I place the foil touching the pretty side of the foil, touching the plates. And then I'm just foiling onto Simon Says Stamps smooth white 120-pound cardstock. Hammermill smooth cardstock is another one that a lot of people love and recommend. I just use the Simon stuff. It just works for me. So I press the timer, let it go till it went solid. And then I slowly run the whole kit and caboodle through my Platinum 6 die cut machine, because the glimmer machine adds the heat, the die cut machine adds the pressure, and the angels are singing, you know, everything's wonderful. Love it. Love it. I had one teeny tiny spot of overfoiling right there. This is where a little sand eraser comes in handy. I'll have a link to that with the supplies. And I just go back and forth with the sand eraser and just a basic white eraser, and just light pressure removes that little bit like it didn't even happen, and we're good to go. So once I've got my foiling, I am going to just trim these apart so I can use the coordinating die set. And in the coordinating die set, there is this size bookmark die that leaves like a nice border, and then there is a smaller one that cuts like right up, you know, right on the edge. I didn't want to use that one. Just kind of showing it. I actually use it to make the tassels. I'll show. It's bizarre. But anyway, use the larger wafer die. And then there is a little circle wafer die that'll cut out a hole at the top, or you could use a hole punch. Kind of depends on what you want to do. And then I've got one of my grip mats. It's the Waffle Flower grip mat. And I took a minute and placed the bookmarks like where they should be, so I can just use the coordinating stencil in one step, because the coordinating stencil does both of these patterns. So the grip mat is holding the bookmarks in place and my stencil, and then I'm just going to start adding color, and it's super simple. So I'm using Altenew fresh dye inks to do all of my stenciling, which, like, especially with this peachy keen color right now, it looks like my blending is atrocious, but it's going to smooth out and it's going to look fabulous, and I don't have to put in so much effort. So I'm using their inks and my Waffle Flower. I started with the bigger blending brushes for like the larger areas, and then I'm going to switch to some of the small shader brushes for the smaller areas. And then with this part of the stencil, those two flowers that I'm just holding them down with my fingers, because they're just attached like with thin little stems. So you could do something like add a little bit of pixie spray to the back of it, but the way it is, I just held it down with my fingers. You could hold it down with like tweezers if you don't want to get ink on your fingers, but this ink just washes off. It's fine. So, because you don't want it shifting when you're blending over it. So yeah, that was the only thing that you need to hold on. Everything else is good to go. So now I'm going on to add color. And I've talked about this one specifically, this color before. This is the Tickled Pink from Altenew. This is a very intense pink. I love it. I'm only mentioning this because it will stain everything. If you get it on your stamps, if you get it on your grip mats, it will stain. Any really intense pink. Purples will do this, reds. It's just the nature of the colors used to make it, and it penetrates photopolymer. It stains everything. I don't care. It is worth it for the really pretty colors, and staining isn't gonna, hurt anything. It just will happen, because I've had people ask me, they're like, I can't get the color out of my grip mats, etc. They're meant to stain. Good quality photopolymer will stain. It's okay. And like I always say, same with your stamps, these grip mats are quality photopolymer, no alcohol. No alcohol to clean it, no abrasive cleaners. Use just a gentle stamp cleaner or just a water or a baby wipe. That's it. And don't let them soak in water. It will ruin them. And that wouldn't be fun. So stains are stains, but the basic, ink that's laying on the grip mats or your stamps, etc., it'll remove that. But the actual staining, it's going to be there. And over time, you'll see my mats are going to get more and more stained. I just happen to have many mats, from many brands, and I switch between them. So it's just going to take me longer, but they will eventually get heavily stained, and that's okay. As long as they work, that's all that matters. So I'm just working my way through the stenciling, adding the color. I'm using the 1+ shader brushes from Waffle Flower for all these little smaller areas. I've been using those brushes for however long they've been out. Love them. And then I die cut solid color cardstock using the same bookmark die, the little circle die for the hole. And then there's a wafer die in the set that cuts the hole reinforcers. So I cut those from the same color cardstock as well and just adhered them together. So it just gives a little pop color, finishes off the back of them. If you wanted to, you could laminate these. Like if people that card makers that like to do like craft fairs and things like that and sell stuff like this, I would highly recommend like laminating these before, you know, doing that. I didn't with any of mine, but it is definitely a nice option to laminate it. You know, it makes it good and durable and all the things. I rarely laminate anything anymore. But I was thinking about it out like as I was editing, and I was like, probably should have done it with Bookmarks, you know, but whatever. As always, you know, it just is what it is. So after I did those first two, and I'd made those tassels with Waffle Flower's metallic cord or like metallic embroidery floss, which I didn't show that footage because it took me a bit, because if you've ever worked with metallic floss or metallic thread, it's kind of a nightmare. It's gorgeous. I love it. But working with it is a kind of a pain in the butt because it's slippery. But that's how I figured out how to make tassels, was with the metallic thread. So I made it work. But I'll show the, you know, ridiculous version I have with the regular floss in a minute after I get these little bookmarks filled in with color. So these ones are the round critter bookmarks. So you've got the bookmark stamp, and then you've got options, because you could do it just like this. You don't need to add the critter at the top. Like you could add a sentiment or just leave it blank. But there are 3 little critter options. There's also a little pair of glasses, which I'm going to add to the froggy just because I could, because it was cute. And then there's some sentiments. There's little faces too that you could add to other things, you know, just depending on what you want to do. And yeah, again, it's a buildable set, and it's super cute. So I made 3 because there was 3 critters in the set, and I would just inked up the bookmark. You know, I stamped it 3 times onto the same smooth white cardstock. I stamped one of the sentiments at the bottom where there was that little opening. There's also, you could fill that in and skip the sentiment. There's another stamp that creates just a book spine for that bottom spot. So again, options. And then I stamped my little critters, and then I stuck these to my grip mat. And then I'm using most of the exact same colors that I used on the first ones, just alternating them to blend in all of these bookmarks. So the one stencil in this set does, as you can see, the background and the staggers the books. And then the other part of the stencil fills in the rest of the books. So that's that stencil. And then the second stencil in that set is what you use to fill in the little critters. Love it. So like I said, if you don't like coloring, I love the layering stencils, you know. Makes things a little bit easier. Don't have to worry about the coloring, although these would look really, really cute, like colored with, you know, alcohol markers. Or if you really wanted to, like stamp them onto watercolor paper and watercolor them, that would look really cute too. Super cute. For ones that have been like watercolored, or you've like gone in and done a ton of coloring, I would highly recommend laminating those ones, because, you know, that would kind of suck otherwise. Or another option, I'm just thinking now, is like the rare times maybe I would use like a spray sealant, either a spray sealant or like distressed microglaze. That would work too. You know, it wouldn't be as durable as like full on laminating, but that is another option just to make your bookmarks a little bit more, you know, durable. But I was happy with, you know, what I was doing. So for the tassels, Waffle Flower does have an entire set here of embroidery thread, which I've been hoarding because there's so many pretty colors. I love it. Anyway, I chose 3 colors that went with the critters, and I'm using the smaller bookmark wafer die. You could just use a piece of chipboard, honestly, or a heavyweight piece of cardstock, and you just cut it to whatever width. It just depends on how big you want the tassel to be, but this bookmark was just kind of the right size, so I used the wafer die. If you Google how to make a tassel, there's plenty of like photo step-by-step guides out there. I didn't do anything new. You just take a piece, like you take embroidery thread, and I just wrapped it. And you wrap it as many times as you want. It depends on how big you want the tassel to be. So I just wrapped it around the bookmark. Then you take a second piece of the same embroidery thread and you cut it to about a yard. And then you double it. So you fold it in half. And then you thread it through the center of the wrapped embroidery thread. And this is where I wasn't paying enough attention when I was doing this, and basically attached it to the wafer die. This is where it would be helpful if I had just cut a piece of chipboard or heavyweight cardstock. But you thread it through, and then you thread it through the loop so that it's basically, you've got this like wrapped loop on the left side there, and then this big long string attached to it. And then you thread that, the big long piece, you thread it through just a large needle. This makes things, and you kind of do need a big needle to do this, or a needle that'll handle, embroidery thread. It doesn't need to be big like this one. This is just what I had on hand. And then you take the needle, and I didn't realize I was off camera when I did this, but you just kind of pierce it through the top of that loop you created and pull it out partially through the loop of embroidery thread. I am horrible at explaining this. Again, like I said, if you're really wanting to learn how to make tassels, there's online guides that are much more concise, make a lot more sense. And it's another one of those things, once you make it once, it's really easy to make, especially if you make it with metallic embroidery thread the first time and you're fighting with that for, I don't even want to know how long it took me, but once I figured it out, these are actually pretty easy to make. So anyway, you wrap it around multiple times towards the top where the long piece is. I created a loop there that's about 4 inches, and then wrapped it around multiple times, and then used the needle to thread it up and down a few times just to tighten everything so it doesn't come loose. Pulled that tight, and then you just trim off the ends. And again, you just trim it to where you want your little tassel to be, and that's it. Super simple. It's super cute. And I was like, I might do these more often now, because a lot of times in the past when I've done bookmarks, usually I'll just add a little bit of ribbon, that sort of thing. That works too, but these tassels are like super cute. So I made tassels for each of the bookmarks. I did the metallic ones for the ones that I hot foiled, and these critter ones I just used embroidery floss from the pack in colors. It kind of went with the critters. And I did the same thing with the cardstocks, the solid color cardstocks. I did, green for the frog, a brown for the owl, and then kind of a dirty orange color for the cat one. And then same thing with the reinforcers. So adhered everything together with craft tacky glue. And then you just thread the tassel through the hole in the top, slip it through, and then you've got your finished little bookmarks. So I also decided to add some little dots and highlights and whatnot with a white gel pen just to kind of finish everything off. Another option. Now, as I'm like sitting here voicing this over, another thing you could like spray these with like a sparkle spray. That would be really fun. Depends on what you're doing. I probably wouldn't do sparkle spray because I did these with the fresh dye inks. There would be a chance that it would like reactivate the inks. But if you colored them with alcohol markers, that would work too. But yeah, sky's the limit. So many options. Love it. And I do hope that Waffle Flower comes out with like more patterns and different things down the road, because how fun would that be? So, and of course you could also just use the basic, like the main wafer die set as just a die cut cardstock and then stamp whatever you wanted on it. That's an option too. So added all my little highlights with the white gel pen, and I did the same thing with the florals too, just added a few highlights here and there just cuz. So they're hot foiled and shiny, and they have their little metallic tassels, which I'm very proud of. And then my little critter ones that are just ridiculously adorable. Love it. So like I mentioned in the intro, I'll have links to all of the things in the description box below. There'll be links to the release, links to all the supplies I used, etc. All you need to do is expand the description box below the video, and it's all going to be there. And as always, thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting. It helps a ton, and I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in supporting me over on Patreon, the link to that is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.